The chickens are coming home to roost for Prime Video. Amazon Studios announced that there will be significant layoffs for both employees at Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios after the disastrous performance of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power Season 1, as well as other shows like The Citadel. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Let's get into this over here. We have this report from Deadline, who obtained an email from Senior Vice President Mike Hopkins over there at Amazon. In that email, Mike Hopkins announced that they will be doing significant layoffs over at Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios. He says, "We will be eliminating several hundred roles across the Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios organization. Today, we'll begin to reach out to colleagues who are impacted by these role reductions. Notifications will be sent out shortly, and we expect all notifications in the Americas to be completed this morning, Pacific time, and most other regions by the end of the week." He later added in the email, "This is a difficult decision to make and one that my leadership team and I do not take lightly. It is hard to say goodbye to talented Amazonians who've made meaningful contributions on behalf of our customers, team, and business. Thank you for your dedication and work. To help with the transition, we are providing packages that include a separation payment, transitional benefits as applicable by country, and external job placement support." So clearly indicating that some of the stuff they have been creating has been way too expensive, unable to support these positions. It's unfortunate that they're having to cut these positions. I think for these people are probably just some of the grunt workers that are doing the day to day rather than the people making these absolutely atrocious decisions. Those are the people that should be fired. Especially Jennifer Salke and her approval of the Rings of Power. And the marketing team, I think, at the Rings of Power should also be part of these layoffs if they aren't, given the fact how they tried to paint people criticizing the show as all kinds of isms. It was absolutely disgusting. They're still doing it. The actors are still pushing that out there. Clearly, PR talking points from the studio, in my opinion, and they should be ashamed of themselves for trying to paint that narrative. It's absolutely disgusting, and as well as just being straight up disingenuous, and they're lying about it. But as I was saying, the chickens have come home to roost, and they have come home to roost because the Rings of Power had a reported budget of over $1 billion, and it was an absolute failure. We had a report from the Hollywood Reporter's Kim Master indicating that only 37% of viewers completed the series, meaning a whopping 63% did not finish the series. They watched some of it and then turned it off and did not look back. This is specifically what Masters reported. She says, while Amazon, like other streamers, provides only limited data and internally it held information even more closely than usual on the series, sources confirm that the Rings of Power had a 37% domestic completion rate, customers who watched the entire series. She added overseas it reached 45%. A 50% completion rate would be a solid but not spectacular result, according to insiders. So 37%, absolutely abysmal for The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. And for good reason. The show is absolute trash. Not going to get into that here. But we also have other data that kind of supports Masters' report. If you look at the Nielsen numbers week over week, it originally debuted with 1.253 billion minutes viewed in North America. That included the first two episodes as they released them at the same time on September 1st, 2022. That would be as high as the show would go. It would trend downward from there week after week. In its second week, it declined to 1.203 billion. By week 3, it was down to 988 million minutes viewed. In week 4, it fell to 977 million minutes. Week 5, it saw it drop to 966 million minutes. It did see a bump towards the end of the season. It jumped to 1.137 billion, with viewers likely binging the entire series. However, the week following its finale, it saw viewership minutes drop to 570 million. And then in the subsequent week, it fell off Nielsen's charts with viewership below 354 million. We don't know exactly how low it was because they only report the top 10, and the show that was in 10th that week had 354 million minutes. So people were clearly tuning out, less viewership week over week. And then we also had poor audience scores. If you look at some of these websites, Rotten Tomatoes, 38% audience score for the entire season 1. The average rating was 2.4 out of 5. Absolutely atrocious. And then obviously on IMDb, you had a middling rating of 7.0. Obviously lots of 10s and 1s there. So, and obviously, I think Rings of Power is the most prominent example because that budget was so high. But you also have shows like The Citadel, which also had a massive, massive budget, and it did not perform well at all. I think it obviously performed worse than the Rings of Power, given the fact that it wasn't really a name brand, doesn't have that IP, doesn't have the goodwill based off of Tolkien's excellent books and novels that he's created in his world of Middle Earth, as well as the Peter Jackson films. But they were just spending tons of money. They canceled Peripheral last year as well, which was an expensive science fiction show starring Chloe Grace Moretz. So they've had lots of failures over the past year. I think Rings of Power, obviously, just being the largest of them. Interestingly, this email about the layoffs comes a little less than a year after we got a report from Bloomberg's Lucas Shaw. I guess like only like 6 months, 7 months, where he said that Amazon CEO Andy Jassy was actually looking into the costs of various of Amazon's productions. And this is what he said in his report. Jassy is now trying to get a better handle on why specific shows cost what they do, based on conversations with more than a dozen different people who either work at Amazon or have worked with the company on projects. So they were looking at why things were so expensive, and obviously they are making cuts now to try and cut back some of those expenses. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be any big name people. As I said, like the people making these decisions on why these shows are absolute failures, why you're spending so much money on this, those are the people that should indeed be cut, but those aren't the ones that are being sent the door right away. It's unfortunate, but that is the reality that we see at Hollywood. The decision makers seem to stay in place despite numerous and repeated failures over and over again. But I think we can say that the Rings of Power was indeed a failure, and this is just another piece of evidence showing that. And one can only imagine how season two is going to turn out when it is supposed to arrive sometime later this year. But let me know what you guys think about Amazon laying off hundreds of people from Prime Video and Amazon MGM Studios. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, but to always speak the truth.